I used to have seasonal allergies, and they would be awful. I mean, there would be times when the only thing I could do would be to put a pillow over my head and, you know, just try to sleep. And those are, for the most part, those are gone.
If I hadn't taken the blood test, I'd probably still be suffering with serious migraines and taking unnecessary medication, which is damaging to the liver.
You know, these foods that we think are healthy and are actually healthy foods are, you know, maybe good for you, but not good for me. I mean, and that's the key factor right there. You know, you're identifying foods that are playing havoc inside your body that you're not aware of.
The medical doctors who treated the symptoms with the medications said to me point blank, if they don't work, we'll just cut out the part of the colon that is bad. So we cured the cause and not just treated the symptoms.
I was in an awful lot of pain. I had just throughout my whole body with the fibromyalgia. Suffered from migraines, got very little sleep at night, insomnia. My life was miserable, really was miserable.
I was experiencing sweats, I was experiencing chills, I was experiencing constipation followed by bouts of diarrhea, I was experiencing extreme fatigue, soreness in my muscles, inflammation, and just a multitude of problems. It sounds overwhelming, and believe me, it was. I didn't know which course my life was going. I didn't know if my life was coming to an end or if there was any hope for me out there. Well, I went, as I completed and shared this with this doctor, in frustration, he looked at me and he says, I can only treat 5 or 6 symptoms at a time. And he says, I really feel in your case, maybe we need to adjust your depression level medicine.
Since I've really started this, where I'm seriously doing the program and eating those things that aren't my food sensitivities, I've lost over 50 pounds.
There's an old saying that some people eat to live, while others live to eat. But what about the food we eat? Is it truly nourishing your body, or is it instead toxic to your system? Jeffrey Zavik, Immuno Laboratories founder and CEO, in his book Toxic Food Syndrome, writes that 95% of patients are poisoning themselves and they don't even know it.
I was managing a very innovative rejuvenation center, a anti-aging center in the Bahamas a very long time ago. And I was introduced to the concept of a link between what people eat and how they feel with a microscope. And I was fascinated to see blood cells actually damaged or destroyed by particular foods that people were eating. I was fascinated. I thought, wow, this is really, really interesting, in particular because I myself am very delicate with respect to digesting and assimilating food. So that's where it all started. I realized, wow, this is really interesting. And as I found out, most people are suffering with some kind of nagging condition that is being caused or aggravated by something they're eating. So this became very exciting to me personally, which then led me to develop it into a full-blown business.
My right leg was numb, my left arm was numb, my vision was impaired, my speech was impaired, my balance was off, and I ached in every joint in my body. But there wasn't anything wrong with me.
The whole month of January, I just could hardly get up. I was so sick.
I was not sure if I'd ever find any relief. I did not know what was wrong with me. It was something that had come on late in my teens. It seemed rather suddenly at once, and I was not sure why that was so. And none of the doctors seemed to have a satisfactory explanation.
Well, and then my moods too. I was up and down like a yo-yo. You know, just kind of crying one minute and okay the next. And you know, it's really hard working under conditions like that where you've got to keep your emotions under control. And my husband didn't know what kind of a mood I was going to be in when he came home. And after I eliminated all the foods that I was allergic to, I don't have the headaches anymore. My energy level is coming up. That, you know, I think has something to do with the thyroid medication that I've since changed. But the headaches is the big difference. I mean, I went to bed with a headache, I woke up with a headache. And it didn't seem like whatever I took helped. And the headaches are now gone.
I just feel so much better than I did back then.
I have like way more energy than I had about 6 months ago. I don't fall asleep after dinner anymore, which is wonderful. And you know, I've already lost 18 pounds being on this therapy, and I think that when as I lose, I'm going to even have more energy than I've had in the past.
My dark circles are going away. My complexion has also cleared up. I've suffered not with a substantially large acne problem, but little bumps and just the texture of my face and even my back. I noticed that my skin on my back had cleared up. Not that it was substantially bad, but it's something that, it's those little things.
Did you know 95 out of 100 people have food sensitivities and don't even realize it? Individuals are seeing doctors every day for a variety of symptoms, including irritable bowel syndrome, commonly called IBS, headaches, fibromyalgia, weight problems, sleep issues, and more. But most people aren't connecting the way they feel with what they're eating. We all know that foods can make you feel good and other foods can make you feel bad. There is an abundance of information on which foods help you lose weight and which foods pack on the pounds. In fact, there is too much information on which diet is best that we've become extremely focused on what we should or should not eat. One plan advocates a low-fat diet rich in complex carbohydrates, while another recommends a high-protein diet, eliminating carbohydrates altogether. One theory explains the health benefits of soy, while another warns you of the dangers. With all this contradicting and seemingly truthful information, how do we know what foods are right for us? The answer is to take out the confusion by understanding your own food signals so that you learn what works for you. We are all different, and what works well in one body can be a hazard to another. Most people don't suspect that they are eating the very foods that are contributing or even causing their health problems because they don't feel the immediate reactions. But what people don't know is that a reaction to a food can often be delayed and not immediate. The truth is that you can feel the symptoms of food sensitivities even after 2 or 3 days without ever realizing it was a reaction to a certain food. The body's response to irritating foods or toxins can create chronic inflammation inside the body, which may lead to various diseases. Has anyone ever tested you for the link between what you eat and how you feel? If there was just one food causing or aggravating your symptoms, would you want to know what it is? With a simple, affordable test, Immuno Laboratories can help identify which foods may be causing or aggravating chronic symptoms such as IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, headaches, fibromyalgia, weight problems, sleep issues, and more. Check this out. 75% of the trillions of dollars spent every year on healthcare in America is spent on chronic disease, often preventable. Your body has the innate ability to heal itself, but toxic reactions from food may be preventing it from doing so. By knowing your individualized food signals, you give your body the chance to heal itself. 95 out of 100 people have food sensitivities. Are you one of them?
There were things in the medical literature that I had never learned. And so with some caution, I began to occasionally order food allergy testing on patients, and I also ordered it on me. The first few patients that I did it on, I got some good results. But I was significantly impressed with what came back on me because I had had this experience of going to a local restaurant in Evansville, a very good restaurant, not cheap food or bad food, and I'd eat the salad bar and have a steak and a glass of good Cabernet and go home, sitting at my computer typing later on at night, answering my emails, and I realized that my pulse was too fast. It was around 100, and I'd check it. You know, 100 beats a minute, that is too fast. I'm physically active. It was higher than usual. And I thought, gee, I wonder if I'm actually eating something that is doing this to me. So I went to the lab, got my blood drawn, sent it off to Immuno Labs, and was very curious what I was going to find out. Lo and behold, it came back, and I was allergic to several of my favorite items on the food bar, specifically kidney beans, a little bit of pepper, sesame seeds, and brewer's yeast. And what my favorite meal was a good salad with lots of kidney beans, sesame seeds, lots of pepper, and then I'd always have a glass of Cabernet with it, which is of course loaded with brewer's yeast. So then I decided it was time to go and do a scientific experiment, and we went back to that restaurant and I had none of the items that I was allergic to. And then I went home and sat down at my computer and checked my pulse, and it was normal. I said, lo and behold, there is something to this food allergy. I mean, it was it was personal experience, that I could actually check my pulse and see that there was something different.
If there was one test I could do on every patient who came in here that would make the biggest difference in how they feel on a day-to-day basis, it would be the allergy test. Because so often it's something that we're eating, we have no idea that it's hurting us, and it's just one or two things you can take out of your diet and you'll feel better.
And I hear people say, well, I don't believe in food sensitivity. Well, this isn't a theological question. This is a scientific question. And the way to find out is to get off the food. Now, then the question is, how do you decide which foods to get off of? Well, since there are quite a few different foods that people eat, and sometimes it could be something you wouldn't think of. For example, I'm allergic to cinnamon. Well, it took me, if I hadn't done my food allergy test, I wouldn't have even thought of it. But because it's on my list of positives, I began to make a connection. And now I am very careful not to eat rice pudding for dessert that has some cinnamon on it, or apple pie. If somebody gives me a piece of apple pie, it has cinnamon, I know that it's going to give me symptoms. But it would have been very hard to sort it out without the help of a blood test that narrows it down.
People over time expose themselves to food or situations that cause them to react to food, and what they end up in is what I call the maladapted feel bad. This is where they eat food and the food is pushing the button of their immune system and they don't realize it. So they have no clear correlation that I ate the strawberry today and I felt bad on 3 days from now.
I'm a physician and was very healthy my whole life until I suddenly got sick after going to China, working in the ER, going through a divorce, and from one day to the next I got chronic fatigue syndrome. And my entire system broke down. I had severe diarrhea, headaches, brain fog, muscle aches, muscle twitching. I had rashes all over my body. And I actually instantly became allergic to all sorts of foods I ate my whole life, and never understood what a food allergy was. And then I would start getting sores on my tongue. I got rashes on my body. I'd get circles around my eyes, which would get red and sore. And it was directly related to what I was eating, and I began to understand the connection between what was happening in the breakdown of my body and the underlying systems that are at the root of all disease. So I began to piece together through my own health, cell by cell, the story of how the body works and how to make it better. And through that process, I discovered really the world of functional medicine and the world of actually supporting the body to repair and heal itself rather than simply to treat symptoms, which is what was actually not even effective in my case.
The delayed food allergy testing was something that I was very skeptical about. I thought I had seen the literature on it several times. I thought it was very sensational. But I had several patients who I'd taken care of for years with the best specialists down the hall at Mayo, particularly problems like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, irritable bowel syndrome, rashes that wouldn't go away. And there were several of these people where I finally said, you know, it can't hurt. Let's go ahead and try this. Let's see if this approach would be helpful. At the same time, before I submit my patients to anything, I actually check out the labs myself, and also had the lab work done for myself and my family, and was absolutely amazed by the number of symptoms that I had written off to stress that were truly food allergy related.
So even if good foods are toxic to your system, how is one to know which foods to avoid? That's where the Immuno blood print comes in.
The blood print is unique to you, just like your fingerprint. But there's a difference. The fingerprint is fixed. You're born with it. It never changes. Your blood print actually can be changed based upon the life you live and the foods that you're eating. So the exciting thing is that if your blood print isn't super healthy right now, you can actually change it by choices that you make.
I'm a mother of 5 children, and between the first and second baby I was diagnosed with lupus, and then had a few miscarriages, went on the traditional medical approach, the 9 medications in and out of university hospitals and all of that. I finally got off all the medications and took a natural approach to treating myself, and had just limited symptoms, enough I could live with. And then I had another couple of babies and one more, so ended up with 5. And our third born son, Richie, ended up with autism. We didn't know what it was at first. He had, for about 4 years, incredible symptoms ranging from violence to frustration, aggression. He was not the sit in the corner, quiet type of autistic child. He was the out, jump off the window kind of child. And so life was very challenging. I was told to institutionalize him, and I couldn't bear to do that. My head said yes, my heart said no, and so I just set out to do whatever I could to keep him out of an institution. And in so doing, I came upon the Autism Research Institute and found out about Immuno Labs, and that's where we started our whole process, was with food elimination. And Richie started to gain language. He started to dissipate in his tantrums, and he started to show little signs of hope, little signs of improvement. And as we continued down the whole path of recovery, we were led to various doctors, and the end result is that he ended up recovering from autism 1 year ago. And I recovered from lupus just a few months ago. After 14 years of positive testing, I now have negative testing for lupus, the same disease I was told would kill me probably by now. And other children with asthma, eczema, allergies, all of that, we don't have that anymore. And I'm just so grateful to all of the physicians that take alternative approach to the mainstream medicine and look beyond the symptoms and treat the causes, the root issues, because it has brought life to our family.